Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric C. Smith. I'm the director of Freeport Historical Society. It's wonderful to see so many of you gathered here this evening. To gather to hear and listen and learn and experience together the wisdom of many, many generations that is carried in Wabanaki Stories. This is among the first of a series of events brought to you by a whole partnership of community organizations here in Freeport. Tonight's event is sponsored particularly by Freeport Climate Action Now and Freeport Historical Society and Wolfe's Neck Center. And we're so happy to have Wolfe's Neck Center offering us this beautiful space to gather in tonight. Some of you may have seen Wolfe's Neck's thorough land acknowledgement on the screen as you came in. If you didn't, I encourage you to take a look at it on the way out or look it up on the Wolfe's Neck website. It starts with the very simple sentence, "We farm on Wabanaki land." And we gather tonight on Wabanaki land. All of Freeport gathers on Wabanaki land. We are historically part of the English settlement of North Yarmouth, which was an English settlement on Wabanaki territory, has been for 342 years, settled in direct violation of a treaty between the English and Wabanaki peoples, the Treaty of Casco Bay in 1678. We've attached names to this land: Wolfe's Neck, Porter's Landing, Staples Point. Names of possession and of dispossession. We live in a world where every day people die in conflicts over land, in claims over title and right and occupation. This too has been such a place. What can we learn from our own land and the Wabanaki people who have called and cared for this land for millennia? How might a better understanding of our cultures and histories, our cooperation and conflict, improve the prospects of our shared future? How can we learn to shape a better world for both the land and water, people, plants, and animals? These are among the questions we're looking to explore in these community events. We are gathering from many perspectives to engage arts, culture, history, archaeology, story, song, film, and conversation. And I hope you'll continue to join us for this journey through this series of events that we are calling The Land We Live On. If this is your first of these events, you can find out more. We have cards with some of the upcoming events. It includes the list of Freeport organizations that are helping us put this together. This is 3 organizations tonight, but 9 organizations altogether. We have film series at the library. We have things happening at Meeting House Arts, including a screening of Dawnland tomorrow night, which you are all encouraged to attend, with a significant panel afterwards with many of the folks that you will see in that documentary. And they continue. We'll be back here just over a month from now with an archaeology program, and you can learn all about that on landwelivon.org. And we'll continue to put those events up as they become available. You all received response cards on your chairs when you came in. We'd encourage you to think about what you've heard, and what you've felt this evening, and share those with us. Your questions that you'd like to continue to explore in this series of events. And you can sign up for the email list for these particular programs, the Land We Live On programs, either on the sheet in back on that website, landweliveon.org, or by filling out one of those response cards and dropping in the basket on your way out. Now, without further ado, one of the driving forces of pulling this partnership of organizations together has been Kathleen Sullivan, who is the coordinator of Freeport Climate Action Now. It is Kathleen's invitation that brought us our honored guest tonight, and I would call on Kathleen to introduce him.
Look at all of you out here. It's really wonderful to see all of you show up here tonight. Thank you all for coming.
Here you go.
Oh, I was worried that I might not be
You
heard.
grab the mic.
So even though everybody always tells me to quiet down, I'm going to use the microphone just to make it.
Just flip it on. Yeah. There you go.
I'm thrilled to be here with you all tonight to introduce you to a remarkable man. A man full of spirit and joy and wisdom and above all kindness. I had the great good fortune to meet Dwayne this summer in this very room. And I was attracted immediately to his sparkly eyes and his big smile and his embrace of all of us. You'll, I'm sure, be able to experience more of that tonight. I was able to take walks with him along this dirt road and talk to him about the plants and the ocean beside us and what they were saying to us and about us. At that time, he insisted in all his presentations that we are all one. We are all one, indigenous and non-indigenous people, the plants, the animals, the oceans, the sky, the clouds. And I was so taken with him and so glad to meet him. I'm just thrilled to have him here. But what I want to tell you about is what even happened before I met Dwayne, because Dwayne is like the answer to a deep wish that began a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, after a walk with a friend, my dear friend, Carol Wishkamper, who's here. She and I were out walking on the Litchfield Road. We were walking past a field that was lined with the rocks, the rock walls. And she said to me, Kathleen, do you know what those rock walls were? I said, oh, they're rock walls. Those are those beautiful rock walls. And she said, well, they were an instrument of settler colonialism. Well, settler colonialism. Colonial settlers. That's the word I always had. That was always a word I kind of romanticized. As a kid growing up, I'd come up to New England and see those rock walls, think, oh, it's so sweet up here, all these barns, isn't it lovely? Settler colonialism is an entirely different word than colonial settlement. And I had to think, it was like somebody drew a shade up over my eyes. And it totally changed the way I began to see this land right here. And because those rock walls, it was about ownership. That's what Eric was talking about before. They denoted ownership. I put those rock walls up there, and I live here. It's not your territory, it's mine. It was a tactic for denoting ownership over land that was, quote, given to the early settlers in their ideas by a covenant with God. So that conversation left me so transformed that walking in the woods, which I do a lot because I live in the middle of the woods, and I live by the lots of land conservation trust paths, so I could take those walks. And this is what I just want to tell you what I wrote back then, because you'll see why this is so important. I said, in the days after my conversation with Carol, walking in the woods felt different. There was a silence I had not heard before. There was an emptiness I had not experienced. Something, it seemed, had gone missing. I began searching. I looked deeper into the shadows in the ravines. I walked further. I peered behind trees. Sadness grew inside me. After days of searching, it hit me. What I was searching for was what had been unremembered. 10,000 years of history, actually it's 12,000 years of history of this land and its people. Erased, wiped out. I know nothing, absolutely nothing, about the way indigenous peoples lived on this land before we discovered it. Who was here? How did they care for the land, the forest, each other? How did they govern? Where are the stories? What I discovered this summer is that the spirits of the men and women and children who lived here for thousands of years are not really erased. If you walk very quietly and breathe very deeply and feel the thrum of the earth, you will find them wandering in the woods. These spirits are thin and frail because it has been so long since we have called them by name. They have been silenced, a second form of death, first by warfare and starvation and disease, then by erasure of their stories. And I wrote back then, I want to tell their stories, those stories, to join with others who feel their presence and bring their spirits back to life. I want to sit beside them and allow them to teach us what we need to know about how to live on this earth, how to bring the earth back from this state of breakdown. And here we are, a year later, and what I realized is I was wrong. The stories aren't gone. The stories aren't hidden. The stories are all here. And we have with us one of the Wabanaki's most famous storytellers, here to tell us these stories that he's been preserving now. And we have the wax cylinders of the stories. So I feel so blessed to have met Dwayne and to have discovered what was making me feel so alone and so empty in those woods, cut off from our history, cut off from all the spirits and the thousands of years of people who lived and cared and loved this land. And now, tonight, and through all the things we're going to be doing with the Freeport Historical Society, we're going to have those stories back. And those stories are going to teach us about how we live our lives together and on this earth in a better way. So with that, I'm going to read you Dwayne's biography, his lady to read, which is quite amazing. Dwayne Tomah is a language keeper. He is director and curator of the Sipitak Museum and teacher of the Passamaquoddy Language and Culture. He's the youngest fluent speaker of the Passamaquoddy tribe and has served on the tribal council. He has also worked with Animal Planet on a segment called Winged Creatures, highlighting the history of the thunderbird. His life has been dedicated to working on the language and culture preservation. He has edited the Passamaquoddy Dictionary and worked to help create the Apple Passamaquoddy Language App. Who would have thought Native Language App? He shares Native legends through song and dance. Dwayne is currently working with the Library of Congress on translating Passamaquoddy wax cylinders. These recordings are the first recordings in the world of native languages, and we have them here with us tonight. They were recorded in 1890 by Jesse Walter Hughes, who borrowed the device from Thomas Edison. Dwayne has also been involved in repatriation and land back issues. He shares historical truth regarding the doctrine of discovery by an indigenous perspective. We have this man, we're so lucky, right here with us tonight. So,
first and foremost, thank you very much for having me here this evening. It's really an honor for me to be here with you to share ancestral knowledge that has been oppressed for a lot of years. So I just want to share this because we can all work on this together. This oppression can stop when we start building these relationships. So is there anybody in this room that I have not made contact with and I've shaken their hands? I know there's a couple here. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. Anybody else that I have not made contact with? Okay, because it's real important, folks, that we make contact with people. It's so important that we build these relationships with one another and to connect with one another. These are all stories that have been handed down for thousands of years. Anybody else? Please raise your hand so I can get to every one of you, because nobody gets to be left out. No one. Anybody else? Please raise your hand and keep it right up so I can get to you. All right? Because this is important to me. And I want to share the symbol because this is how we overcome these obstacles that were in front of us. And you're going to see tonight some of the obstacles, not only Indigenous people that are faced with, but all of us. So I just want to be very clear about our connection with one another, because first and foremost, we are human beings. All these colors have divided us. Society has divided us. Everybody? Thank you. So, the idea is to share with you knowledge of our people that has been oppressed for a long time. First and foremost, as Kathleen has articulated, we're actually the first Indigenous people in the entire world to be recorded. So I want to start off with that a little bit. And we'll start getting into the wax cylinders. I'll explain a little bit about the wax cylinders and how that came to be. First and foremost, these institutions had and have exclusive authority over intellectual property. We've all witnessed it. Peabody, Massachusetts, Peabody Museum, okay, had exclusive authority over Passamaquoddy wax cylinders. There's a gentleman by the name of Jesse Walter Fuchs, an anthropologist, who was invited by an Indian agent. Does anybody know what an Indian agent is, by the way? I want to share with you what an Indian agent is. An Indian agent was designated by the federal government to oversee a lot of the tribal affairs because historically it's been known or told by people that Indigenous people can't govern themselves. Let me remind people of our existence here on Turtle Island for over 12,000 years, according to archaeologists. Our people have contended that we've been here since time immemorial. This abundant knowledge has been handed down. And our relationship with our mother, your mother, my mother, collectively our mother. The Western world, it's got a different concept when it comes to our mother. Very important for us to recognize that and talk about it in its proper context and respectfully, without pointing fingers at people, because we are in this canoe together. And there is enough room in this canoe because we are going to make room in this canoe. And if there isn't room, we're going to build another one. Because we're all in this canoe together. And these are the concepts that our people have been handed down for thousands of years. And we've seen it all in our towns. The greed, disrespect for our mother. So I urge you to get in the faces of your politicians. Put some pressure on them. Put some pressure on your politicians to have respect for our mother, for the future generations. Right here, these young ones right here are the ones that we got to look out for. We have teachings that have been handed down for thousands of years. We look 7 generations when we make decisions. You guys have seen decisions being made in 1 week. Different concept. It's driven by you know what. And I'm not saying that money is evil, because we've heard that. It's how it's used. It's how it's used. Power and domination. First and foremost, what I'd like to do is share with you some of the teachings of our people when it comes to the wax cylinders. The first cylinder that I'd like to share with you is actually the first time our people ever been recorded. And this is what Jesse Walter Fuchs had come with the Passamaquoddy people. So you'll hear some of the cylinders here. Looks like a good problem. First of all, anybody know want to get this computer going for me while I talk about this? Okay, never mind. I don't want to take up too much time trying to get this all taken care of. Okay, I got it. Okay, this one here is about the first recording. It always happens when you have technical problems, you know? It's understandable. So this is the first recording, like I said.
It was invented by Thomas Alva Edison. He was young. You can talk to him as much as you like, or you can speak as deliberately as you choose. In either case, reproduces exactly what you say. Now, Mr. Phonogram, I want you to repeat what I have said to you as well as you can, in order that Miss Buckley may be able to hear what you can do. Goodbye, Mr. Phonogram.
So if you could imagine what the Passamaquoddy people were thinking at that time, number one, we had to trust these people, right? The relationship had to be built. So the Indian agent had made this happen. The tribe actually came to Calais, Maine in 1890. So these cylinders sat on the shelves for 130 years. And these institutions would not allow us to even have access to them. So what we did was, we started learning how the game was played. So we started equipping ourselves with a lot of information, and also building relationships and contacts with people, and we ended up having probably one of the best intellectual property attorneys in the country. We started coming. We were coming. Started getting back a lot of our intellectual properties. I want to share with you, just recently, we just returned ancestral remains. Let me say that again. We just returned ancestral remains of our people. These institutions had exclusive authority over our ancestral remains and our ceremonial objects. I want to share with you an experience that I had with this. First time I heard that this was happening, the individual had sent me a video of some of the stuff that was in the archives. And I looked at them. And something told me not to look at them. I decided, you know what, something kept eating away. Look at one. So I looked at one video. You're not going to believe what video came up. It was an infant. Ancestral remains of an infant. I immediately started to pray for her. And I talked to her and I told her I was going to return her back to our mother. We did this ceremony this past weekend. When we did our ceremony, we have certain responsibilities. When I touched that box, because I knew which box it was, because I could tell by the video, I could feel it. When I was bringing in the ancestors into the woods, when I was touching the box, my hand was very, very warm, almost hot. When I touched that box, I knew right off. I immediately started talking to her again. I told her that I'm returning her back to our mother. These are some of the obstacles that we have to go up against. Very difficult. I learned something that day as well. There was other ancestral remains there. Other. So I just want to share with you that we need to pay attention, get involved, and be good stewards of our land. Did you notice how I said our land? And I don't mean that by ownership. We share this together. That's important. We have many, many stories about our relationship with our mother. I'm going to share with one right now, matter of fact. And this is going to be in the language because this is actually the first language our mother actually heard. I transcribed this probably, I don't know, 30 years ago maybe, or so, when I was a young fella. This story is about our relationship to the land and stories that are being told through Gluskap. Gluskap is telling us stories. It's a legend that's been handed down for thousands of years. Stories of our people. And this one talks about our relationship with the land and how important it is. Because, after all, these are our relatives. Let me say that again. These are our relatives. And that's how we look at them. We don't look at them as resources. It's a total different concept. And these are the teachings that we've been trying to say for thousands of years. But because of power, we're not heard. We're not heard. But the more we come together, embrace each other, hold the people in power accountable, get involved. Which we much have gluskab ok missile milik chijit win a will. Gluskab wiggle ok misuk. Gluskab ok missile liwizo money west. Negam gizi much eganajil gluskabil. Unim plas gizgat gimal gluskabil. Wedgie Tawigadun get. Naga wedgie Tawamed. Wedgie is also did. De gizi git gluskab. And Gwezi mulaluk missile. Medjabal gizi twin dub. Naga parkwig. Gudi naji gadun kalag. Adukuk. Zilma mat the glass. Naga namas. And gluskab majel son. Chikuk. Ned Adeline Delawad Aduku. Edugia valida hazo di ook missal. En apt gluskab. Gizi spazame ki en apt majahan chiku en it edli napahad muinil idem gluskab ook me get your gizi napato kadalo muin idem ook misu edlik bidahaz idiaw gluskab ook missal kamaj wat skinos is wolit bestum. Kamaj yaguna niet madmen Milan which we majego dilichi. Kamaj nulida hazel gaki med. Gluskalap negam tan wajman. Kamaj yagwood gluskab chit beso. Ook missal wedgie moko. Gluskab kamaj nagalko bestkook. Waya sisuk. Sami wedgie napahag unnog. Zip sisuk. En gluskab majel son upschikuk. Naga najimiewan gudkihi mausuino. En ya wedgie muman. Kichi niweskomo. We joke him in, Gichini Westcomen. Bamausuno wedgie scad, sick that by old geekam. And Gluskab Najigidwat to one good he mausuino. Aligis a Westuamad, ni Westcomo. Mosayag when sick that by Ekich. And ya Gluskab Tianok missile. Gaki min eli tu witen. Wedgie is he good on kalo with the hasim season. Jude Naniel Gaki Milkus. And Maja gis tag witen. And Gluskab edgy up tawi gadun get. Now, can someone tell me what I just said? I'm being funny, by the way. But I thought it was very important for us to hear the Passamaquoddy language and its proper form to be able to hear the language of our ancestors. And what I said was, this is Gluskab's childhood. He starts the story of Gluskab. He lived with his grandmother Woodchuck. She raised him and taught him everything. How to hunt, how to fish, and how to make his living. When he grew large enough to use a bow, he said to his grandmother, "Make me a bow and arrows. I want to hunt deer. I'm tired of eating rabbit, meat, and fish." Then he roamed away and killed a deer, and she was so glad when she did that. She was very proud of him. The next day, they roamed and killed a bear. She asked, "What creature is this?" He asked her when he brought it home. She was glad to begin to dance. She started to dance. She started to celebrate, showing respect for the animal, because the animal has given up his life. Offering tobacco. Old dog and wagon. The connection to the animal. Kichig mi dahadamawagan. It's all in our language. Kichig mi dahadamawagan is respect. Kichi is the greatest thoughts I have for you. Kichi is great. Kichig mi dahadamo is the greatest thoughts I have for you. So that's respect. You've killed a bear, a great piece of meat. Now we shall have plenty of fat. We shall live richly, said she and her grandson. He will be a great shaman. He will do great wonders for our descendants as we go on, she thought to herself. Become various things will endanger our lives, because various things are going to endanger our lives. She's teaching him. Some animals will try to kill us. Some rivers will try to drown us. Change them so they will not be dangerous. Then Gluskov said to his mother, "I would like you to show me how to build a canoe so I can hunt ducks." "Surely I will teach you, your grandson." So she taught him how to build a canoe. Till it was finished, she was glad when he paddled out to see the ducks. He got great many. Gluskov releases many animals. Then he lay down on the bed and began to sing, wishing for magic game bag so that he could get the animals a lot easier. His grandmother Woodchuck then came in with a game bag of deer hair. When it was finished, she tossed it to Gluskov. But he did not stop singing. He continued to sing. Respect. Relationship. Then again, she made one of moose hair and passed it to him. But he still did not stop. Then pulling woodchuck hairs from her belly, she made one of those. Gluskov was glad that he thanked her. Then he went into the woods and called all the animals. He said to them, "Come on, all the animals. The world is coming to an end. And all you animals are going to die." Then all the animals of all kinds came. He told them, "Get inside my bag here. Get inside my bag. And there you will not see the world come to an end." Then he entered the bag and he carried it to the wigwam. Now grandmother, she said he. He said to his grandmother, "Now grandmother." He was excited that he had all these animals in the bag. "I have brought game animals. I have brought game animals." He was so happy. From now on, we will not have hard times searching for game. Then Woodchuck went and saw all the different kinds of animals. which were in the bag. She went into the wigwam and said, "You have not done well, grandson. You have not done well, grandson. You've collected all the animals. You've taken all of them. In the future, our descendants are going to die of starvation. I have placed great hopes in you for our descendants. Do not do what you have done. Do not do this. Do not do this. You must only do what will benefit them, the animals. You only must do what will benefit the animals." Our descendants, Goose Cub heeded to his grandmother. He went and opened the bag, and he told the animals, "Go out, go, go. The danger has already gone by. Go out." And they all scattered. They all scattered. He continued going about. When he returned to his wigwam, he saw that his grandmother was fishing there. At last he thought how hard it was that she really caught only a few fish. Then he thought to himself, "It would be better if I helped my grandmother so that she would not have a hard time fishing." So he built a trap across the river at the mouth. He built this big trap. When he had made it, he left an opening halfway so that the fish could go in. Then he went on to the ocean and shouted as he moved about, saying to the fishes, "The ocean is going to dry up. The ocean is going to dry up. The end of the world is coming. All of you will die. Now I have arranged it so that you will live. All the fish who hear me, come into my river, and you will live. Because my river will be here. Now all of you hear me, come." Then all the fish came, and last the fish trap became full. He closed it. He went to the wigwam and said to his grandmother, "Ah, grandmother, from now on you will not have a hard time fishing. You will only need to go and get whatever kind of fishes you want." Then Woodchuck went to observe what he had done. When he arrived, there was the fish trap full of all kinds of fish. So many that it was almost crowded each other out. Then Woodchuck went away, and when she came to her wigwam, she said, "Grandson, grandson, you have not done well. You have not done well, grandson. You have not done well. All the fish will be killed. So what will our descendants in the future do to live? Because we have plenty of fish now, as many as we want. Go and let them out." So he got up and said, "You speak the truth, grandmother. You speak the truth. I will go and open it now, so all the fish can be released." It's our relationship with the fish. And the idea is, what we do to the salmon, we do to ourselves. What we do to the water, we do to ourselves. We've seen it unfold everywhere. That's why I say, get in the face of your politicians. Get involved. So the next symbol that I'd like to share with you is really about gathering, coming together. And this one here is called Oldaka Wagan and it's a ceremony. And this one here is about Wabanaki. Wabanaki is about bringing people together. Wabanaki is ceremony. Ceremony was very, very important to our people. We would sit in circles for days upon days. These are all customs of our people, solving common problems. These days when we have a meeting, it's probably about an hour, right? Can you imagine having to sit for hours and hours? Those of you that have been in a lot of meetings, and it's been quite heated sometimes, you know how difficult that could be. So this mutual respect, I'm talking about this, so important to our people. So this particular cylinder that I'm going to share with you is called the snake dance. And this one here is SR number 5. First of all, I just want to share real quick that we had 31 cylinders in this particular project, and an elder had actually transcribed 4 of the cylinders. But because of audiability issues, since then these wax cylinders have been digitalized and enhanced, and audio is a little more clearer. But you'll be able to hear some of these cylinders and how difficult it is to be able to even identify some of the stuff. But you'll be able to hear it because of the work that they've done. So this one here, I'll explain it to you. What they would do is, they would get into a room in Wabanaki. They would have an individual come up, and they'll talk about bringing people together. And they would do this in ceremonies. That they would do is they'd get a rattle, and they would go, Yone ha. They're telling everybody, let's go. They go to their dwellings. They go to their dwellings, or in the circle. They bring everybody together in a room to have a ceremony. And what do you think they're doing in that ceremony? They're looking out for all of us in these ceremonies. You guys don't even realize this, how many prayers are in those ceremonies we still do today. They include every one of you. I want you to know that. Every one of you are included in our ceremonies. The animals are included. The water's included. The trees are included. Everything is included. Because this intellectual knowledge that our people have had for thousands of years is that we're all connected. Every one of us. But because of power separates us. But guess what? We have the power. As people, it's been taken from us. We gotta go there and work it. So we can do the right thing for our mother. That's what we need to do, is look out for our mother. For 7 generations. These are our stories that have been handed down for thousands of years. We have been good stewards of this land. And we want to share that knowledge with everyone. To be able to coexist, to be sustainable, to be in balance. These are the teachings of our people, is to be in balance. Our mother is hurting. She's hurting. Matter of fact, she's going to respond. she has already responded. Heavy rains, heavy winds, tornadoes, floods, you name it, she's reacting to this. She's sending a message to us and our responsibility to our mother. These are all in our stories. All of them. Every one of those concepts and teachings are in our stories. Very important to our people. What I'd like to do is share with you a very well-respected individual, a friend of mine. And I just want to share with you some of these words that he's sharing to share with you, and to really think about this as you're going home. Think about what you heard this evening. What I'm going to share with you is an individual name, and you guys can look him up. I'm going to share with you some of my people that I am in contact with. His name is Chief Orrin Lyons from the Mohawk Territory. I want to share with you some of the words that he's sharing with the world, because he goes everywhere and talks about these issues. And he says it in 4 words. So listen carefully.
So what is it then? In the global form of spiritual parliamentary leaders, we met many years, we came down finally. In meetings like this, we said, all right, well, what is it that
Sorry about that. It's not connected.
So what is it then? In the global forum of spiritual parliamentary leaders, we met many years, and we came down finally. In meetings like this, we said, all right, well, what is it that we are going to say here finally after all these meetings? And Akio Matsumura, who was the leader of that, 4 words, he said. Value change for survival. Came right down to 4 words. You're either going to change your values or you're not going to survive. I tell you, the earth has no mercy. You abide that law or suffer the consequence. Business as usual is over. Carbon is over. Oil is over. We better find something else. We better find some equity. We are not going to have the luxury of spending $200 billion in a war. You're just not going to have the time or the money, because you're going to be paying for environment and damages coming. You are going to talk about economies. Wreck the economies in the world. They're not ready for this.
I think that's an important message to think about. These are all teachings that have been handed down, our responsibility to our mother. All these stories always go back to our responsibility, and always go back to ceremonies. Now, this next cylinder that I want to share with you is cylinder number 12, and this is a passing of a chief. And a lot of the times when the passing of a chief, Very, very difficult times. Because a lot of times what we would do is different territories would nominate our chief. Our village would not designate our chief, it would be other villages. So what would happen is, you'd have a Ginwat Dawsid. A Ginwat Dawsid is a messenger. What he would do is, the best in the Quitnuk, naga majazumi mo to the meat market naga maj Ginwat to a meat market ali matching and zagum. And after best in the Quitnuk naga majazumi mo to the lusty week, naga banwapske week, naga best to the mokaliku. Naga Ginwat to a yokto ali matching and zagum. Sami chikbazu zagum. So they would designate a messenger, and the messenger would get in his canoe and go all the way up to the Micmac territory, and he'd go up to the Maliseet territory, and he'd go up to the Penobscot territory, and to the Passamaquoddy territory. And they would come down these rivers, singing these old songs. Oh, Zoko, Alme Zoko, Zobe Wiga Glana, Alme Wichilu, Yote Open, Enoya, Yote Open, Enoya. We're traveling down to the river. Zubeg was a river. We're all going together. And what they're doing is they're mourning the loss of a chief. And they're saying, your day open, your day open. In other words, he was just here. Our chief was just here. Because these rivers also was very important to our people. To go and inform people, bring medicine to people. Because we were hunters, we were gatherers. We bring all of this medicine in our ceremonies. During the ceremony of the death, medicine is brought in. Once they arrive in the village, they'd have an individual standing there, and all the leaders would get in front, and they would do a ceremony. And they would do these. Welcoming the people coming in. They're grieving. Welcome them to come in. Feed them. And also, the body never gets left alone. The body never gets left alone. There's always somebody there with them during ceremony until they get returned back to the earth. And it's all in ceremony. So this one here, this is what they heard. What they sang at that time, this old song. Hope that connected. Whoops.
Joseph, take it, I say all is you. On this day apart, each thing.
So if you can imagine, these songs would have been lost if we didn't have them recorded. They would have been gone. This next one I want to share with you is going to be about, I forgot to play it for you actually, the snake one, so I can explain to you what they're saying. in the snake dance. In the language. Okay, now this is a snake dance song.
Snake song and description by Uncle Joseph of the Passamaquoddy tribe in Calais, Maine, on the 18th of February 1890. You know, let's get there, oh yeah.
Whenever our people would get together, whenever something was happening, bringing our chiefs to the ceremony, we would dance. And we would be cooking food, and the food was cooking. It just started to get dark. We ate a little late, so we started to dance in ceremony. In our language, we used our language. We'd go just like this, picking up people in the village. And we'd always come together. Everybody would come together. And then we'd sing songs. Okay, number 18 that I want to share with you, right, is about friendship. I want to talk a little bit about treaties, friendship treaties, and how important it is to be able to talk about these treaties. A lot of people have not heard of wampums. Wampums really are telling our stories. These stories have been handed down for thousands of years. We use wampum. These are quahog shells. Many of us don't know this, but it was used for money at one time. It was also telling stories of our people, solving common problems. Teachings in those wampums about our connection with one another and our connection to the land, and sacred teachings, and how we carry ourselves, and the decisions that we make, and how it affects long-term future generations, and not allowing the influences to stay focused on our mother. These are all teachings of our people. So important. Now, this next story that I want to share with you is called, this is a medicine man story, okay? And this particular one here, it's amazing how now this one here is called Medicine Man by Noel Joseph of the Passamaquoddy tribe. And I'll set this up for you. And what happened was, they'd have a medicine man, right, in the village, or a medicine woman. I want to say that very clear. Medicine man or medicine woman. Because the woman was viewed as very sacred. She was life giver. Honor and respect for the woman. Very important. Because they all had different This one here was the village would go to the medicine man and ask for all kinds of different things. Some people would even ask if they could live forever. They'd go and ask the medicine man if they could live forever. You know what the medicine man said? I don't think we could do that. But guess what? We're not going anywhere. We're all here in spirit. Our ancestors are all around us. I want to share that with you. All of our ancestors are still here. They are. You've got to open that up. Open it up. That's all we need to do. Connecting. So important. Okay, this is cylinder number 24, the medicine man.
Story of the medicine man, number 3. Get off the mother, what one you don't want to live on.
He'd go and ask him for what everybody wanted. All the people, whatever they get good luck. They'd ask for good luck. Once he gets to his house, wishing they had all this luck. And he'd come back to him and ask him again. Then the other one, he asked him if he could live forever. He said, you want to live forever? I don't know if I feel do that. So he reads those in the words. He's standing in his house and he's looking. That's right. And nobody would look at him. So it's interesting how they would go to the medicine man and ask for a lot of different things. And I've also been able to get a lot of the medicine songs and dance. There's one particular one I want to talk about is the dance and song. What they would do is they'd have a medicine man in the center, and they'd have people around. Because what they did was they wanted to share the medicine, the healing. All the different medicines that you see today, where do you think it came from? From that knowledge. A lot of knowledge there. It's all natural. It's not been, all these different modified. All this natural stuff is what we need to start looking at. It's all around you. It's in your backyards. All around you, the medicine is speaking to you. It really is. The medicine wants you to grab the medicine. It's everywhere. You can learn this knowledge. This knowledge is still available. It has not been oppressed. It's still coming out. Our ancestors are still speaking. Different fragments. They're still coming up, talking, reminding us of our responsibility. Constantly. Always. Just got to pay attention. So what I'd like to do is, first and foremost, share this one more video here, and I want you to really pay attention to this one. because this one here, it talks a lot about the residential schools. Those of you that aren't familiar with the residential schools, I just want to give you a brief synopsis of what took place with the residential schools. This was an attempt by the federal government to exterminate indigenous people through using these institutions to be able to take away their language, their stories, their songs, and to assimilate them into society because they wanted us to be like everyone else. They didn't realize we have a lot in common. So there's a lot of residential school children that were murdered. Right now, the count is up 10,000 people, children. Nobody talks about this. But I'm going to talk about it tonight, briefly. And I want you to be able to listen to the language of some of the survivors. These are the stories of some of the survivors. So I want to share that with you and really pay attention to the language that's being used as well. And also I just want to point out too, if there's children that you feel like they should hear this, then I just want to be respectful of that. Okay? I just want to be real clear about that, because this is some of the stuff that you're going to hear. Do you have the password here? I don't think I can get it off. Password. You need glasses, right? Okay, here we go, folks.
I was a small child. Yes, I was a small child. I went to residential school when I was 6 years old. My mom and dad took me to the residential school in Kamloops, BC. We were standing in front of the red brick building. To me, the building looked huge. It looked like a monster. It scared me. It had lots of window eyes and it had red brick flesh. This poem is called Monster, a residential school experience. I hate you, residential school, I hate you. You're a monster, a huge, hungry monster built with steel bones, built with cement flesh. You're a monster built to devour innocent native children. You're a cold-hearted monster, cold as the cement floors. You have no love, no gentle atmosphere. Your ugly face grooved with red bricks. Your monster eyes glare from grimy windows. Monster eyes so evil. Monster eyes watching terrified children cover with shame. I hate you, residential school, I hate you. You're a slimy monster, oozing in the shadows of my past. Go away, leave me alone, you're following me wherever I go. You're in my dreams, in my memories. Go away, monster, go away. I hate you, you're following me. I hate your residential school, I hate you. You're a monster with huge watery mouth of double doors. Your white mouth took me. Your yellow stained teeth chewed the Indian out of me. Your teeth crunched my language, grinded my rituals and my traditions. Your taste buds became bitter when you tasted my red skin. You swallowed me with disgust. Your face wrinkled when you tasted my strong pride. I hate your residential school, I hate you. You're a monster. Your throat muscles force me down to your stomach. Your throat muscles squeeze my happiness, squeeze my dreams, squeeze my native voice. Your throat became clogged with my sacred spirit. You coughed and you choked, for you cannot withstand my spiritual songs and dances. I hate your residential school, I hate you. You're a monster. Your stomach upset every time I went to my bed. Your stomach rumbled with anger every time I fell asleep in church. Your stomach growled at me every time I broke the school rules. Your stomach was full. You burped. You felt satisfied. You rubbed your belly and you didn't care. You didn't care how you ate up my native culture. You didn't care if you're Missy, if you're Piggy. You didn't care as long as you ate up my Indianness. I hate your residential school, I hate you. You're a monster. Your veins clotted with cruelty and torture. Your blood poisoned with loneliness and despair. Your heart, it was cold. It pumped fear into me. I hate your residential school, I hate you. You're a monster. Your intestines turned me into foul entrails. Your annals squeezed me, squeezed my confidence, squeezed my self-respect. Your annals squeezed, then you dumped me without parental skills, without life skills, dumped me without any form of character, without individual talents, without a hope for success. I hate your residential school, I hate you. You're a monster. You dumped me in the toilet, then you flushed out my good nature, my personalities. I hate your residential school, I hate you. You're a monster. I hate you. 33 years later, I rode my Chevy pony to Kamloops. From the highway, I saw the monster. My God, the monster is still alive. I hesitated and I wanted to drive on, but something told me to stop. I parked in front of the residential school, in front of the monster. The monster saw me and it stared at me. The monster saw me and I stared back. We both never said anything for a long, long time. Finally, with a lump in my throat, I said, "Monster, I forgive you." The monster broke into tears. The monster cried and cried. His huge shoulders shook. He motioned for me to come forward. He asked me to sit on his lap. He stairs. I spoke. "You know, I didn't like my government father and I didn't like my Catholic Church mother. I'm glad the native people adopted me. They took me as one of their own. They fixed me up, repaired my mouth of double doors, washed my window eyes with cedar and fir bough. They cleansed me with sage and sweetgrass. Now my good spirit lives. The native people let me stay on their land. They could have burnt me, you know. Instead, they let me live so the people could come here to school and learn about their culture." The monster said, "I'm glad the native people gave me another chance. I'm glad, Dennis, you gave me another chance." The monster smiled. I stood up. I told the monster I must go. Ahead of me is my life. My people are waiting for me. I was at the door of my Chevy pony and the monster spoke. "Hey, you forgot something." I turned around and I saw a ghost child running down the cement steps. It ran towards me and it entered my body. I looked over to the monster and I was surprised. I wasn't looking at the monster anymore. I was looking at an old school. In my heart, I thought, this is where I earned my diploma of survival. I was looking at an old residential school who became my elder of my memories. I was looking at a tall building with 4 stories. Stories of hope, stories of dreams, stories of renewal, and stories of tomorrow.
Gijiji tuan dama boji beji, gijiji tuan dama eliai. Gijiji tuan dama boji beji, gijiji tuan dama eliai. If you know where you come from, you'll know where you're going. A lot of these hidden secrets, these aren't talked about. They're hidden. These are some of the obstacles and struggles that we have in a society. We must come together as human beings. Come from here rather than here. A clear distinction. On behalf of the Wabanaki people, we can do this. I know that. It's got to be communal. Communal. Coming together. So at this point, I'd like to ask the audience if there's any questions or any comments. I certainly would entertain those.
You talked about the grandmother raising the little boy. Was it mostly a matriarchal society?
Absolutely. Yep. Patriarchal, absolutely.
Can you repeat the question, please?
She's saying, you want to get up and repeat the question?
I was struck when you talked about the grandmother raising the child, her grandson. So my question is, was this society a matriarchal society?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Working together. Working together. Any other questions?
I'm curious around, thank you so much for sharing that. It's quite captivating. I wonder if you would talk a little bit about the traditions or maybe the values that people put with forgiving. Because a lot of the things you talk about could also have resulted in a lot of, negative and hard-hit feelings. But somehow you're sharing these wonderful stories of openness and forgiving and inclusion. I wonder if there's kind of stories or patterns around that.
Yes, absolutely. It's called Odaka Wagan. It's ceremony. Let me give you an example. Every new year, we have a custom and tradition. And it's this. We go into the community and we ask for forgiveness, like you're talking about. If there is anything that I have done to hurt you in any way this year, I ask for your forgiveness. These are all about ceremony. It's all about connecting with one another. Taking responsibility for our actions, our words, and healing together, coming together. So important. Every year, people go in the community asking for forgiveness. It's a tradition. Can you imagine if we all did that? Especially our politicians. I keep saying the politicians, I'm sorry, but they're the ones that are the movers and shakers, so we have to hold them accountable. Right?
Yeah.
Any other questions? First and foremost, I want to thank you very, 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 very much for having me here in your presence and sharing this space with you. It's really an honor for me to be here with you. I just want to share with you, I also share a lot of historical truth when it comes to the origin of why we're here. I just want to highlight that a little bit because it's really important to talk about where we came from and where we're going in its proper context. So I do a lot of presentations on the doctrine of discovery. Those of you that are not familiar with the doctrine of discovery, look it up, educate yourselves on this document. This is where these archaic, barbaric laws, ideologies, methodologies, and mindset is stemming from. I'd love to share it with you at some point, some of that historical secrets, unmasking the domination code. It's a very sensitive subject, by the way, but I think we can talk about it respectfully. That's what we do, respectfully. Without pointing fingers, without putting anybody's religion down, or anything like that. That's not the idea. It's coming together and understanding human behavior and archaic, barbaric laws that support genocidal principles, not only to indigenous people, but to all of us. Because this document, the Doctrine of Discovery Paper Bulls, affects each and every one of us. I guarantee you that. We see it unfold in society. So once again, thank you very much for having me this evening. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just want to say that maybe you'd like to think just for on this week, when things there's so much violence and so much distress in the land, to have us here and all of them together in this room, come together with this idea of healing and